All right, let's do this again. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope everyone had a happy 4th of July holiday, took a little time off. We're here today to talk about some changes we have starting on Monday, which you have read in the emails, and also a requirement. We're going to be also starting on Monday as to submitting plans with your checklist. And I will let Sherry take over now, our operations manager. We also have the inspectors on the line to help us answer questions. So you guys listen and learn or bring your questions. And with that, I'm going to give it to Sherry.
I hope everybody got the email and was able to see the new IRC standards that we are going to be inspecting to. That, as you know, will be an option for you. We will still have our NOAA Plus standard that we will be inspecting to as well. So basically what we're going to do is, as you schedule your first inspection, you will need to let the inspectors know if you want it inspected to the NOAA Plus standard, which is the same standard we inspect to now, or if you want it to be inspected to IRC. We are going to be requiring plans for both. We feel that it will help our inspectors know prior to you doing something and then them saying, oh, that's not going to pass. So they can let you know that prior to you getting that far if you have it on your plans. We did put together a checklist for you so you would know what is going to be required for those plans. They don't have to be professionally drawn as long as you have everything on the plans that we have in the checklist. We just feel that it'll save you a lot of time and it'll save the inspectors some time as well, so that they will catch it prior to you getting all the way through and then finding something that wasn't correct or needs to be changed. We don't want you to have to go and spend money to get plans. So if you got a ruler and a pencil and you can sketch it out yourself, that's perfectly fine. We don't have a problem with that. But I do know there's also some free websites that you can do it yourself that way as well. I'm going to ask anybody now, unless the inspectors have. Tony, did you want to say anything before we start taking some questions?
No, the only thing is that Rich and I and Frank and Linda, we're kind of putting together a little condensed list of the items that would be the requirements that are actually going to be different than the NOAA Plus standards that we already use, just to help the builders out to know what difference there would be between the two. We don't have it finished up yet, but we'll have it done in a day or so.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hands and we'll be more than glad to answer. Or if you have just some suggestions, we're always open to that as well, because we do this to try and help you guys and you guys help us. So that's where we're coming from with this call, is so that we can get some suggestions for you that you want to add to it, or maybe you want to discuss something that we have in there that you don't see needs to be there, and we can either tell you why we have it in there, or maybe we can take it out. But this is the kind of discussions we like to have with all of our members.
Yeah, Sherry, I'll jump in here. So I'll give people a little quick background. Is the reason that we're making a separate standard based on the IRC is due to the fact that some states are really moving legislation towards that. So we're trying to be a little proactive instead of reactive. We know one state like Colorado, and there's some other states out there that are, Colorado has something in play now. And I think it's supposed to be implemented either now or within a month. And then,
July 1st.
okay, thank you. And then some other states were following very closely at what happens in Colorado, and they're going to form their own committees and start regulating themselves. So it's going to impact us one way or another if you're into business long term. And like we said, it's better to be proactive than reactive at this point, and try and move forward at an easier pace than being rammed down all our throats. So I guess with that, does anybody have any burning questions that they've seen in the paperwork that we sent them, or the emails, or have just any general questions?
Let me just jump in for a real quick second here. I haven't seen the email yet that went out to everyone, but from what I understand too, you're going to be able to choose a tiny house on wheels or a tiny home on wheels. The tiny house on wheels is going to be basically exactly what we've all been doing, but the tiny home on wheels is going to be more the IRC. It's going to lean more towards the IRC, so is that we're trying to make it easier for placement. The biggest problem with tiny homes is placement. So what we're trying to do is make it a little bit easier for placement, try to meet a little bit more of what the local municipalities in the different states are going to accept. So that's really the primary reason for this.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what Tony's saying, there is like we keep referring back to Colorado, but they're at the forefront of all this, and like the typical IRC for them is now is the only one that's going to be considered be able to be full-time inhabited. So that is the only way you can live in a tiny house full-time there. And if you just use like something like the NOAA Plus standard, by their regulation, they are only considering that part-time, like an RV or something similar to that. So that's where a lot of this is coming from, because a lot of states and even local jurisdictions inside those states are looking at a way to solve the housing issues and crisis, where affordability and so forth, or to just have it as an ADU in combination with an existing house, have an in-law, instead of building an in-law suite, they're just putting in an ADU or a tiny house. So that's where all this is stemming from, and it's going towards that direction 100%.
On my screen, I have both the checklist that will be for the plans. I'm hoping everybody saw that email.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the chats right now.
I have it.
The question, my county requires ANSI 119.5 certification for tiny house as well as primary dwelling. Can I do both IR 11 ANSI and IRC? If you do IRC, it'll be greater than ANSI,
Right.
119.5. So you could absolutely, it would take care of both of them at once, because the building is pretty much the same. It's just there's a little bit more strict standards on electrical and some plumbing items and things like that.
And egress, yeah.
And egress, yeah. Oh yeah, yes. Thank you, Tony. The egress is a big one. So if that doesn't answer your question, just chime in on the chat again. Next one is, well, I didn't get that email. And then should we send you all our standard model plans to evaluate if they meet the IRC or not, and if we need to change to meet IRC guidelines? Yeah, so tell you what, I'm gonna say hold off on sending those plans until we go through some of the items. Or at least maybe what we can do is we'll send over our checklist that Tony, Frank, and Linda and I are working on, and then go through that checklist to see, what the differences are. And from there, based on that, if you meet it, then yeah, send over what you got, and then we can go through it and go from there.
Leanne, can you drop those into the chat by chance?
What's that?
The-
I'm sorry, I had a phone call.
Can you drop the checklist and the new IRC standard into the chat?
Yeah.
For the link, because Jacob
Sure.
said he didn't get it. And I just want to
Okay.
make sure everybody can get it.
I didn't get
Okay.
it.
You
didn't get it?
I didn't get it.
I didn't
I
get it
didn't
either,
get
but I
it.
just joined last week, so not sure if I'm new on the list.
Ooh, check you're moving. Let's see.
I didn't get one either, guys.
Okay, all right.
Uh-oh,
Wow.
we're slacking.
We're
Check your,
slacking.
check your
Slacking.
spam. Check your spam folders too.
Are you able to get it in the chat?
Yes,
Okay.
in process.
Okay.
Did it come from Leanne?
No, it
No.
came from Noah.
Because everything from Leanne, I just delete right away.
You liar.
All right, so I got a question from Steph Wasser. It's looking for clarification based on some emails and some conflicting dates, or dates, years, I should say, and the tiny house standard. So in a quick jump around, so we are basing it off of parts of the 2018 IRC, and it's not up to 2021 yet. And is a movable tiny house standard superseding NOAA? Yeah, so the IRC standard would be superseding the NOAA Plus standard, but the NOAA Plus standard is 100% still available and usable.
Okay, so
for
that
us.
remains available for seasonal living builds.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're moving to one of those, or you're sending a unit to one of those specific states. That's one thing that all builders are gonna have to be very, very, very careful on, is, states like Colorado, with their enactment, if you build a unit and send it, I don't know the final outcome of what will happen with it, but I'm sure that the trying to get it through their standards is gonna be more rigorous. Like, one part of their standards, and not ours, not part of our IRC, but just them, is like you have to have R30 in the in a ceiling. So just do some due diligence on your part, and we'll try and keep everybody up to date as we can within reason. But definitely check with every state that you're sending units to. It's
Okay,
very, very
but
important.
for NOAA certification, the choice is effectively a movable tiny home for full-time living, which is that new standard based on the IRC, or
Yeah.
the same NOAA Plus standard that's currently in existence for seasonal living.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct, you got it.
great,
Yep.
thank you for
Yes.
that clarification.
Sure.
Now, isn't it Idaho that has adopted the NOAA Plus standard?
Yes.
Yeah, Idaho adopted the straight NOAA Plus standard as their only standard. They don't accept anything else out there. So yeah, that's a good point, Sherry.
Justin?
Sorry, it was the first 5 minutes.
Justin has his hand up.
Hi, thanks. Just wanted to jump in here. I work with Boxwell. I'm the quality manager. I deal with licensing. We are in a unique space. We build both modular units, park model RVs, and tiny houses. I am active. I'm actually co-chair of the ASTM EO 6.26 subcommittee. They're writing a standard similar to IRC's tiny house standard. I'm working on flooring subsystems. I'm also active with IRC and RVIA, the park model RV agency as well. Just spent a lot of time in DC dealing with all those different agencies, HUD and everybody talking about these changes. The one good point I want to bring up about this Colorado legislation. They're the first state to actually define a tiny house. Up until they defined it in code, it is a marketing term. We were either
Right.
building park model RVs or IRC units that were kind of in the gray zone. So other states are going to follow suit. They are going to define tiny houses, which is a good thing in my opinion. Hopefully we can get these things off the chassis eventually. We're working on it. I'm working on the standard to get that approved, but I see it moving in the right direction. My experience, we work in all 50 states and internationally. The localities want these units there. They want anything to solve the housing crisis as long as it's safe. Just government needs to catch up with them. One difference between the ANSI A119.5 standard and the IRC standard, that it's because we try to build units that meet all of the standards with one thing. There are specific labeling requirements for exits, fire, specific smoke detectors that meet park model RV standards and things like that. If
Right.
you're under the ANSI A119.5 standard, that is a vehicle, not a home. Whereas the tiny houses are homes, and that's where they're getting the permanent thing. So it may be difficult to build a unit that technically meets both standards without putting a whole bunch of extra labels on and things of that nature, but it's possible, and things are moving in the right direction. So, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
thanks,
For that.
Justin. That's really good information, actually. I appreciate it. That's really good. You're right, though. One of the things with the standards kind of clashing or combining them is the fact that the labeling is a nuance. I don't want to say nuance right now, but yeah, it is a little bit of a concern to try and balance both out. But I think the one thing that Colorado did that we picked up on was they now call it a tiny home on wheels versus a tiny house on wheels, to try and get some distinction between the two, which is a very positive move.
Yeah, back
Ivana,
to
you
the
have a
labels.
question?
I was just gonna say though quickly, back to the labels. Sherry and I talked about it before, that a lot of the builders were just not using them. And the packages are
Mhm.
fairly expensive for NOAA. So what we had talked about, and I don't know if Sherry's decided on that yet, is that possibly doing the label package by request.
There
Okay,
is no requirement that we purchase the labels. You are able to print your own labels as long as they meet the labeling standard. FYI. And I have had that confirmed by
Right.
third-party installers. We initially bought the labeling
Mhm.
package at the excessive price. We use like 4 labels off of it because we don't have propane or water
Yeah.
reclamation on our units. And then
Mhm.
we just basically duplicate them, reprinted them on standard water-resistant paper with the right letter height and coloring, and our third-party inspectors are perfectly happy with that. So
Good.
That's a good note for some of the builders to take,
Yeah,
that, that they can print them themselves too.
Ivana?
Yeah, I just wanted to check in. I purchased a shell from TrailerMade, and the ceiling framing is 2x4s. And so, as Tony pointed out, the most I can get in those the ceiling is R26, and now I need R30. It is already under construction. You know, I ordered the shell from TrailerMade back in February, but I am in Colorado. I live in Colorado, and I'm going to build it and sell it in Colorado. There's a good chance it'll stay in Colorado. Plus, it's possible I'll keep it for myself and live in it in Colorado. So I'm just wondering, is there any suggestion for how I can get that from an R26 to an R30?
Yeah, just take a piece of 1/2 inch or a 1 inch foam board and put it on the roof before you put, is your metal roof down already?
There's not a metal roof, it's shingles and the roof's already on.
It's already on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might be able to, you can attach a 1 inch foam board underneath your rafters before you start putting your ceiling, whatever ceiling material you're going to use. And that's going to add another 5.
Okay.
Right.
And then I just sheetrock on top
Or
of
is
the
that going
foam
to
board.
be, or is that 10?
The
I don't
1 inch
remember.
foam board.
I did have it on my board, but it fell down.
I can
Frank, you
look
have
it
on
up,
your
but
board?
Let me back up a quick minute, Ivana.
I think it's 7.5.
Right.
inch,
So
1 inch.
with Colorado, you definitely want to check with the state on that, because it not so much just for the insulation factor, but for the whole tiny house itself before you get to the point of no return. And you know, you may have, you know, there may be an issue or you can or can't use it for the purpose that you intend to. Definitely reach out to the state, and because I know they require plan review and everything else going, I believe it's directly through the state, not through, you know, a third party, I believe, like us. So you don't want to get caught.
And
You know,
what
with the
would I
units.
check with Colorado about?
The entire tiny house to see if they have, you know, see what the process is that you have to get it through in order to be approved through them.
Okay. Any idea who at the state, like what department that is or anything? Is it housing or?
I can
No.
get back to you on that. I don't have that info right in front of me, but we can definitely get back to you if you can leave your info with Sherry or somebody on email.
Leanne
have
has it.
Or Leanne, okay.
What, are you talking about
Okay.
the Colorado standards? The
Yeah,
DOLA?
and who the point of contact would be over there.
I can send you some different things, Devana,
Okay,
and then I'll
Great, thank
get
you.
that for you.
wonderful,
We have
appreciate it.
Elise Tremblay. She has chapter 30, add new sections, homes having black gray water tanks, freshwater tank vents sized and secured per manufacturer's installation instruction. Gate valve shall be installed after all branches, fixtures, and immediately prior to exiting chassis for on-site sanitary sewer connection lateral. Does it mean that all tiny homes need to have fresh and gray water tanks?
No,
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 you can have a direct connection,
right.
lateral and water supply without gray tanks and black tanks.
Okay, Steph, you have another question?
I do. I just wanted to bump one that was higher up in the chat. Somebody asked about in-progress builds requiring plans with the plan review
No.
checklist.
It's
Right.
all new starts as of Monday.
Right, so my take on that question, I work with Atomic Homes and we don't do custom for every person. We really have kind of a set product line that we build from. So we have been building homes and getting them inspected with y'all for a
Right.
while.
Right.
Even though we would start building a new unit, if it is the same plan, do you need that plan checklist or that plan
No.
submittal?
No,
If
Are
you
you-
changed models, then yes,
Okay, so basically any new models we develop, we would need to do that.
correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, this is Jennifer from St. Louis. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
So we currently are in the middle of an inspection for a post-construction inspection and then new construction. Do I need to do anything specific before Monday with you guys, or do we just continue on with our business as usual?
If it's already been started, then you'll continue.
Okay,
If on your next new start, then yes, you would need to send a set of plans in.
okay, and we have those, so that's no problem. And then
Okay.
finally, I also would like to request that who is our point of contact for the state of Missouri when it comes to the standards? And if that's something that could just be emailed out later. And finally, so I am in this meeting because the guys are just getting ready to go out on their to place a tiny home. I was wondering, can I get a recording of this that they can listen to on their trip?
Jordan, are we gonna have the recording?
it is recording right now.
Yeah.
And then,
I noticed it was recording. I just wasn't sure how to
Yeah.
capture that, and then if I could email it to the guys, so when they're on the road, they could be listening to our
yeah,
conversation.
doesn't he post them?
I will get that and send it to you. Do we have your contact information as the main contact in your account?
Yes.
Okay, I will email it. I will have him email it, or I will email it directly to you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else got questions? On the differences between what we're gonna use and how we're gonna use it? Wow,
I have a quick
I'm liking-
question.
okay.
Has anybody done a study of between the efficiency of tiny homes versus like a standard house on the insulation based off of like the square footage, you know, because we're not insulating as much unused space. Has that ever
True
been done?
that.
So as far as I'm aware, I mean, we don't have any study in our hands, but what you can do is, and it was discussed during all the Colorado conversations and outside of them, was you can run it's called ResCheck. It's an online computer program that you can plug in your insulation values, your windows, and a couple other things, and it'll give you a percentage of approval based upon how much achievement over current code you are. So we've had somebody plug in some general numbers, like using R21 in the ceiling and R15 in the walls, and I don't recall what it was in the floor. And then just, you know, basic windows, nothing outlandish or super efficient. And they produced, I think it was in a range of 5 to 9% better than what is required by code. So that was pretty impressive. Another avenue to take is you can do a blower door test. It's not specifically related to the actual insulation values. That's related to how tight the unit is, and you know, it's definitely another option for you.
Justin, do you have another statement or question?
Yeah, I just a comment on the ResCheck thing. We do use
Okay.
ResCheck on our units as well. Our flat roof design is like an R26, which doesn't meet code, but per ResCheck, we're like 40% over requirements. We have found that most state approvers do not like ResCheck, even though it is in the code that you have the alternative means and methods, and that is the prescribed method of confirming it. They still want the prescriptive based insulation whenever possible. You can always fight it, but it's, if you can easily just add that extra layer of foam or insulation to get there, it will make your life a lot easier.
Andreas?
Hi, how you doing? Thank you. Yeah, I got a little bit late. I'm just understanding well, I was already knowledge about this. I mean, the code, the actual R value right now for the insulation is applying any restriction for using EPS, or is changing any material at all to achieve the R value right now, or it will be the same as it was, just more material, more thickness?
I will let the
Yeah.
inspectors answer that for you.
Hey, Andreas, it's Rich. Yeah, the current materials that are in use are still approved. There's nothing that changed on that end at all. It's just, you know, greater thicknesses, you know, as needed for each area of the state, or each state, I should say, as needed. It's basically anything that's approved in the IRC is, you know, or has you know, valid testing behind it that we can review. It's definitely able to be used.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yes, just a quick question. Is there any requirements changes or like specifics towards the steel frame instead of just a wood frame?
Again, no,
Okay.
nothing has changed. It would still be the same. The same.
And for example, like we already started building the trailer itself. We didn't start the first step of inspection. Would it have any issues with it?
Sure.
So you're saying that you didn't have a stage 1 inspection yet?
No.
Okay,
How
so
far are
what
you?
We already kind of like 90% done with the trailer. And probably like sometime next week, we will try to set up the trailer inspection itself.
as long as
let's-
they can still see everything that the inspectors need to see, then you're good.
Okay,
Cece, you have a question?
thank you.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to expand on Andres's question. I live in Haley, Idaho, and we have quite robust winters. We did adopt an ordinance that considers tiny homes on wheels accessory structures, which we haven't had any pushback lately. But in terms of using the IRC to inspect full-time living in tiny homes, we're a little concerned about requiring structural calculations for snow load. And also I apologize, I missed the first part of this meeting. I thought I had the link and I didn't, but I tracked down the link. So I'm wondering how would NOAA go about that if somebody is planning to use or planning to live in a tiny home full-time in snow country where the IRC requires structural calculations to show that it can withstand 100 pounds, let's say 100 pounds per square foot.
So if that was the case, we would look at it like any other like a regular house structure at that point. Is we would want to see you know, a state licensed engineer review with calculations, just like any other plan within your jurisdiction.
And so
As
I
long
think
as-
that would require a permanent foundation then.
At 100 pounds a square foot, yeah, that seems like it absolutely would. Yeah.
So then do you not suggest tiny homes on wheels for full-time living in snow country?
Well, didn't Haley, Idaho adopt the NOAA standard as the standard for tiny homes?
Mm-hmm.
Did, but if you all are moving. if
You're
you
gonna
all
be
are
able
moving-
to choose which one you want it to, if you want to have it inspected to the NOAA Plus standard, which is what we inspect to now, or you can have it inspected to the new standard, which is the 2018 IRC with amendments. You will
Oh,
be
so
able
there
to
are
choose.
amendments.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
when,
You
and those
will
are gonna be
choose at
published
your
on July
first.
10th?
that we're gonna require plans starting Monday, July 10th, and you will be able to choose as at your first inspection, if you want it inspected to the new standard, or you want to continue with the NOAA Plus standard.
So if the resident is gonna be living in it full-time, they'll still have that choice?
As it's
Yeah.
being built, yes,
Okay, but.
because
okay.
there are so many differences. Well, not a lot
Yeah.
of differences, but enough that you have to do it prior to.
So Cece, were
Right.
you saying that they do require a snow load of 100 per square foot? Yeah, so and something like that, if she's gonna live it in full time, they're definitely, if it's either gonna be on permanent foundation or the trailer is gonna have to be shored up. while it's sitting there. It just, that's an awful lot of snow load just on the trailer itself.
Hmm.
You know, outside.
Yeah,
of
when you
the-
say
the weight of the
shored up,
home.
yeah, when you say shored up, in what ways do you mean?
They may have to put block piers on the corners. All
Mhm.
four corners, and then maybe depending on the length of the house, it may need it them part way down the frame too.
Yeah, it's similar to exactly what you would have for your a manufactured home.
Right.
Out in
exactly.
your area,
Yeah.
it would, it would have to be designed by an engineer, and then we would get it and review it as part of the plan.
Okay, and with the NOAA Plus standard or with the 2018 IRC with amendments?
So you said you're in Haley, Idaho?
Mhm.
Okay, so they have their own requirements for that, and they adopted the NOAA Plus standard on that. So we would go strictly based off of the NOAA Plus standard unless, yeah.
Sorry, you guys, I
Sorry.
should have introduced myself before. I'm actually a city planner, so I can edit
Okay.
it. If we
I was
need.
about to introduce
Okay.
you, Cece.
Well, maybe
I
we should
wasn't
just-
trying to be discreet. I was just caught off guard. Sorry.
No, no worries. So you know what, Cece, actually, maybe what we should do then is maybe we should all get on a separate call. And we can definitely have a, more in-depth discussion to see what Haley needs and, wants, and we can adjust it from there.
Okay, yeah, I think right now we're happy with it as it stands. We have some concerns from folks around getting insurance. But there is some apprehension on the city side. I think we would be advertising this more and doing more community engagement around our ordinance and new code if we weren't apprehensive about the legality. Just because the way that we also, I should preface this, we don't have an in-house building department. And so I'm a planner. I am not super familiar with the building code. I've grown a little bit more familiar through this process. But the way that we have all structures in Idaho structures in this climate zone are required to show snow load requirements. So right now we're not requiring structural calculations by an engineer for our tiny homes on wheels, but legally we so trying to
Right.
figure out
Yeah,
next
I
steps.
understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now, currently, with the way the NOAA Plus standard is written, is we have it built in where we're looking at 130 mile an hour wind load or wind speed, and we're looking at a 30-pound snow load with a 10-pound dead load. So I mean that's well under the 100, and you're right, 100 does require engineering right off the bat. So I would say, yeah, let's definitely get on a separate Zoom, and but let's see if we can't involve, whatever other parties need to be involved. Whether it's I'm assuming you have a third-party building official or something like that. So
Yeah, we
if they
contract
don't
with
want to
the
be
state.
involved, yeah, okay. If they don't want to be involved, then maybe some of their concerns or whatever questions or items they may want to have addressed, and then we can all sit down and go through it, and then just reach out to Sherry whenever you're ready, and we'll we can set that all up.
Okay, thank you all.
You're welcome.
Any other
Do we
questions?
have any more chats?
There's a question in the chat.
Tristan has one.
Is it an obligation to have new inspection ICC if it's for full-time using?
Depends on where it's going to go. California doesn't require it right now in certain areas. They list them as ADUs and they don't require the ICC. But it just depends on your municipality. One thing you can never go wrong is if you do ICC, I mean, because it supersedes all the rest of our codes. But it's just depending on where it's going to go, I think, really.
Either that or just have it engineered for your specific area. Because like Justin had pointed out, there's a huge ASTM initiative, and very grateful for that. And hopefully, we can get some traction on that front, as opposed to ICC. So yeah, we'll see where it all ends up.
And then we have a question, can you accept drawings as a DXF CAD file? I'm saying no.
The problem that we have with that is we do get them in SketchUp. We get them in a couple different formats, but we don't have all the different softwares to be able to read them.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
and there's a number of different programs out there that they're doing them in. So I'd have to say no on that.
Yeah, I would agree. I have to say PDF or something scanned in.
Right.
That would be it. We aren't that savvy yet.
We're getting there.
You're getting there.
Andreas?
Thank you. So I'm familiar a little bit with the IRC code about cold form steel. That's what we use. And you're able to use standard sections, or you can have the engineering calculations and basically structural drawings. So it's going to be the same way. You can have your own, in our case, that's what we did. You hearing me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm using
either one would work. Oh, sorry, Andreas, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm using Starlink, but it's starting to rain right now, heavy here in Panama, so probably that's why.
Nope, just lost him as he said it.
Basically, the question is because we already did an investment for our bungalow with the engineering, 130 miles. All what you mentioned right now, Rich, was done. And our bungalow requests to have foundations. And mostly of the clients that we have, even if we have the VIN number and all the certification, the clients want to have it on foundations. So any change in this matter with the structural and what we did just a few, I will say 4 months ago.
Andres, I'm going to say, so if they're going on a foundation, the only item that's going to need to change is you're going to have to go to IRC on that. Just because at that point it would be considered a tiny home, but it's not on wheels. So that's a whole different animal. And as long as, but again, I don't know which states you're distributing to, but be very aware and proactive with continually checking with the states to see if there was any adoptions or changes or anything like that, so your units are still viable in those areas.
They may require it to be inspected as a modular, Andreas.
Yes.
We're delivering to Texas, Austin, Houston, and forward. But we have some clients that want to use them in the north part of Florida. So, I mean, for us, the sizing that we have and the way that we ship it from Panama will be definitely impossible to sit it on wheels. So my understanding is that with all these changes, we're gonna be able to just certify as a modular and not anymore as a tiny home on wheels, correct?
it's gonna be state dependent. But yeah, some states will accept what we loosely term as skid homes. And they have no problem accepting it. I know Florida has a manufactured home program. I don't know if they have a square footage basis or not. But definitely reach out to Florida and see, what's what. And if you've had, continuing luck in Texas, just be proactive and do your due diligence with, confirming that they still are going to accept those units with us inspecting them and not as manufactured units or modular units. Because the last thing you want to do is get caught, or have units go there for somebody intending to live in and they can't. Like I said, though, we're trying to stay up with everything as much as we can, but it's fluid with everything in every place right now. And I think it's going to become more fluid as time goes on. So, the more we can keep everybody apprised, you to us, us to you, that kind of thing, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's not easy.
Elise
For us.
says, do we need to send the rough draft plans review checklist for each IRC inspection, or we can have one checklist for each standard tiny home model we have?
Let's go with models. As long as the models are identified on the plans, clearly identified on the plans, and nothing changes in those models, then we would just we would just provide a reference back to that original plan.
And Nancy did put in that for modular homes, some states like Tennessee, they required the builder to have a manufacturer's license to build, a transport license to move them, and a dealer's license to sell them. So I know every state is different, as it is for us to try and get into each state as a modular inspector. It's crazy. We are approved in several different states for modular homes. So the more, and we're trying to go to other, right.
Well, Sherry's wrapped up. We'll just take a commercial break.
There's a severe thunderstorm warning.
Uh-oh, lightning in the area.
We thought it might have been a missing Sherry alert.
But we are there. Most states do require builders to have and it's more of a money game than it is anything, I think. But they do require the builders to be certified as modular builders in a lot of the states. So check with the states if you're wanting to put your houses on slabs or what we call skid homes, because it could catch you there as well.
Yeah. I think with the states actually requiring licenses, it's a really good intention of the states to do, because keep everybody on board, keep everybody honest, and keep everybody accountable at the end of the day, with a bond and so forth by every state. So, but yeah, absolutely. The more people can keep us apprised, maybe we can find an area on our website to try and list any up-to-date information as well. This way, because we can't continually send it out via email to the 1,000+ clients we have. But having it on one point of access in the webpage would be the best.
Builders, does the drawings have to be engineered plans from a certified architect?
No, they don't. No. I would like to stress, though, that one of the things that is important that we'd like to see on them is a window schedule, because that's really important also. Some of the builders are not including a window schedule. But the size of the windows, especially the egress, you know, what we're really trying to do with the drawings is to try and catch anything before it's built, because it's much easier to catch it then than after. But no, the drawings don't have to be engineered at all. The other thing I did see on one of our documents somewhere, and I don't know if that's what went out to you, was that they would have to be to scale also. I don't feel that they have to be to scale. Just it is appreciative to have all the measurements put in there, but as actually drawing it to scale, I don't think that's going to be required.
Mhm.
Yeah, so hand drawing is fine. Yeah, I see that came up there. Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else have any questions or suggestions?
I have a comment. I confirmed
Okay.
with IT that he will put this recording in our member portal for you guys, for everyone requesting it. I did make a list of who requested it. Richard, if you want to email me, because I'm not sure which, we have more than one Richard. Leanne, LEANNE @noaacertified.org. And I have the list. I'll send you guys the recording as soon as I get it from the IT guru.
We have question, will plumbing and electrical layers need to be on drawings?
That's helpful. Definitely
It's very helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely would like to see it. Yeah, we definitely want to see some electrical and plumbing.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you check off the checklist that we put out there, you will have everything on there that needs to be on your set of plans. And you don't have to send in the checklist. I don't think the inspectors care whether they get the checklist back. We just wanted to have you check it off to make sure that everything is on there, so that you don't send them to us and then we have to send them back and it delay your inspections.
Right. Yeah, we don't need the checklist back at all. It's a point of reference because we're going to go through that checklist on our own and confirm that everything is indeed on the plans. So if it's not, unfortunately, you're going to get it back and we're going to ask for it.
And I had a new builder ask me last week what I felt was the most problems that we hit with the tiny houses, and it's electrical and plumbing. So it would be really advantageous to have those drawings, and they don't have to be anything elaborate, but single line drawings, but electrical and plumbing will be important to have on there.
And again, that's just to help you guys so that you're not missing something before you get there. They will be able to see it before you get to your stage 3 inspection and say, and they'll be able to say, hey, you need to do this, and see it prior to. Andreas?
Yeah, one more thing. I have to go because I have a meeting with clients right now, but just because the meeting it's possible to be with HUD solution, the federal program. I think it's HUD, correct? HUD?
Yeah, HUD.
Yeah. So any changes that we could see tiny home moving to HUD in somehow that about this this code?
I've not heard anything like that so far. So far, from what I've been told, HUD's not interested in the tiny homes.
Right. Yeah. As far, even with there was a ICC conference, and I think somebody had brought up that question along the way, and there was no interest from HUD having any involvement in that.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Good to see you all.
You're welcome. Have a great
Take care,
day.
Andreas.
We'll see you.
Hi, this is This is Jennifer from St. Louis, and I don't need to hold everybody, but could someone stay with me after the meeting? I have a specific question about gray water.
Go ahead
Yeah,
and
we
ask
can.
it.
Okay, so we were 100% ready for install near the river front in St. Louis. And at the last minute, the EPA said that the gray water was not going to percolate appropriately because there's so much rock. And the only
Mhm.
solution was for us to install a 7,000 gallon holding tank for the gray water, which then we bring in a company to empty that every so often. Because our tiny home is on wheels, it's off grid 100%. So we're going to a place where we have no services. But we thought we could do a French drain, or we thought we could do a septic tank, and it wouldn't, because it was so dense with rock, it wouldn't percolate appropriately. So they said no go. Our only solution was this tank. So it killed the deal.
So-
As of Monday.
So Jennifer, are you putting it there, I want to say permanently or semi-permanently?
Well, yeah, semi-permanently. We wanted to test the market because there's a boat dock and a restaurant, and we thought it'd be a great opportunity to test the market. If it goes well, we're gonna put 3 more down there. But then to test the market, requiring this tank was gonna cost around $8,000. So we backed out as of Monday, and I'm just trying to see if there is a solution for the gray water, because we have an incinerating toilet. We don't care about the black. We have a holding tank for the water, but we don't have a solution now because of this PERC test, PRC test that they did, and they said no go. And the only solution from their perspective was this holding tank.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
gray
mean,
water is
if
a little bit more
if-
complicated than if it was black water, because black water, they have the trucks that will come around and actually pump out your tank. But the gray water, you're gonna fill it up much faster. You'll fill it up, 3 times faster than the black water. So it does pose a problem for you. Because I was gonna say, if it's on wheels, it's not permanent, and it's, you pull it and have it dumped at a dump station, but that's gonna be costly if it's a home that you're looking at semi-permanent anyway. So I don't know of any other way other
Okay.
than a holding tank.
Yep. Okay. I had come to that conclusion as well, but I thought since I had a number of experiencing creative people around the table, I would just throw it out there. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I was
Thank-
gonna ask a question. Jennifer, did you say it failed?
Say that again.
The
It
perk.
failed the perk test?
It did, and they tried in 4 different areas. In the area that we wanted to be, they did 4 different perk tests, and all of them failed. It just didn't drain fast enough to make the EPA happy.
Tony, couldn't they, or Richard, couldn't they do above ground?
Above ground.
I think that's state dependent and,
Yeah.
whatever their regulations and requirements are, 100%.
What's it called?
It's just above ground.
Above ground.
But see, a lot of states won't agree to that though.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, your holding tank is, unfortunately, it's about the only way I think you can go. But did they specify to you how many gallons they wanted it to be?
Yeah, it was a lot. I know
7,000?
that. Gosh, I better not say exactly. I wasn't there. It's somewhere in my notes.
Yeah,
But I know that the installation of the tank was $7,000, and we just felt that was cost prohibitive.
yeah, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
When we already spent, we already spent 4,000 or 5,000 on the incinerating toilet. I was just like, okay, maybe this isn't the way to go.
Yeah, the only solution I can see there is moving forward. You can still do the same. Well, what about moving forward? Just instead of using an incinerating toilet, you use a regular, toilet and have one system in lieu of 2. But even then, you're still going to be stuck with a perk problem.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're back to square one no matter which way you look at it. And unfortunately, you can't slow down the speed of any water because you can't restrict it. come, on the outlet side. So good thoughts, but yeah, unfortunately.
All right, well, thanks for brainstorming with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I think that's going to wrap up our time today. Anybody have any other questions? Please feel free to email me and I will get them to the inspectors. Or you can email the info as well, and we'll get those to the inspectors. And we'll go from there. We hope everyone has a nice weekend, and remember, starting on Monday is when we will require plans on the start of new builds. And you will start choosing with new builds. If you already have builds in progress, they will remain as the NOAA Plus standard, unless you're not far enough along and you would like to change it to the IRC. But I think that would be up to the inspectors. I'm not sure if that would be possible or not.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
Leanne?
you.
Yeah. I just wanted to remind everybody, we're gonna have a inspector chat, Tiny Talks Tuesday, July 18th, 7 p.m. Eastern, so you guys can come back with any questions or comments, or just listen and learn from our very wise inspectors. We appreciate everybody joining the call, and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
you.